Hello, people of the internet. Welcome back to this week's episode of the AGT Podcast. My name is Ty, and I will be your host for this week. And I am joined by the one and only Frankie.
Hello.
Now, you may have noticed that our man with the plan Ant is actually away this week, so they have called on us for the replacement. So we're gonna, there's gonna be no plan. There's gonna be nothing like that. It's gonna be like a dumpster fire of loveliness. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
But he will be back, yeah.
A dumpster fire of loveliness sounds good.
It does, doesn't it? Now, Ant will be back next week, so no need to stress, dear viewer. But Frank, how you doing, mate? I'm
doing pretty good. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Long weeks, but I've got my cup of coffee. We've got our topics, kinda. I'm ready. It's Friday. We're loving it.
That sounds good. So, obviously, like with the release recently of things like, I say recently, over the last few years, you've got things like Red Dead 2, you've got things like The Last of Us 2 being released. So I was just wondering what your opinion was on where's the line of like where it stops almost being a game and it's more like an interactive movie in terms of sort of like, I guess, storytelling. It's
such a big sector though, that isn't it, with like especially with Red Dead 2, because I feel like that's the biggest game that does that recently. Like the Telltale games that we mentioned in the previous podcast that you were in, like they for the longest time were like the only game where it was solely story based, but it was very little gameplay. Obviously the way that it was done, so that the art style and stuff kind of made that fine. But then the one game that always comes to mind is Death Stranding. I'm not sure if you've played it, the Kojima game.
I've never even heard of it.
So I won't be able to explain it because it's insane of just what the story is. But essentially, you've got like a cast of celebrities. So you've got Mads Mikkelsen. You've also got, I've completely forgotten his name. I feel so bad. Daryl out of The Walking Dead. What is his real name? Yeah,
he's the main. He ain't watching it, so it's fine.
He's not, but I do apologize. I'm a big fan. He's the main character in the game, and basically, like, America's blown up. It's like rain makes your body like increase by time. So rain is bad. You have a baby in a bottle that can sense his stuff, which is called BB. It's very confusing, but it's mad. And for the longest time, like, people were like, "What is this game going to be?" Because obviously, Kojima in recent sort of years with like the Metal Gear stuff, it was like, just let people have creative freedom to do what they want to do, whether that's a game or show or song or whatever it is. But then when the game came out and like gameplay was released, people were just like, "Oh, we're just a delivery person and we're just carrying packages." And even now, if you go onto the Steam page and look like at the tags of what like the game would be, it literally says walking simulator. But the reviews are good, and I've played roughly 25 hours. Like I'm recently only getting back into it again. But that game is very like story based, and even though there is obviously a lot of mechanics and there's you're controlling a character for a very long period of time and there's like fighting and stuff, it is still more just an experience. But I kind of like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, with other games like Red Dead, there's a lot more. I guess I never played the game that you just said, so I can't really comment. But I suppose it sounds like I said, games like Red Dead have a lot more story to it, though. Like you're following a narrative a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a narrative. The story is very post-apocalyptic things, but yeah, with Red Dead it's more like, it is more movie based in the sense, because you have these long cut scenes, like even the mechanics of Red Dead 2. And I know a lot of people complain like, "Oh, it's too slow," like even you like buying ammo or going into shops, it's like this stretched out sort of thing, because you've got to open up the book, haven't you? You've got to go to the pages. You've got to like then close the page, close the book, then walk out, and it's like, it just adds to it though. I think Red Dead is probably one of the best games in the last decade. It doesn't matter how slow it is, because it adds towards that experience and game itself.
Any other game that had done something that they did would have been terrible. I feel like they've absolutely nailed it. Like, you go in, they've gone right, we're going to make this game super realistic for the time period that it's set in. So let's just take it and run with it. And they did, and they absolutely killed it. And I think it is so good. It's not like it is an interactive movie, but at the same time it isn't, because you can just go off and do your own thing. And that I think that's really important in a game like that. If you're having a game that has such a strong sort of like storyline that you have to follow with the long cutscenes, with, like you said, you go into a shop and you're like turning the pages and stuff, you have to then be able to sort of like branch off and go and do your own thing.
I've got 2 questions for you now that you've just said that. One, why do you think that if it was made by anyone else, let's just take like Red Dead on its own, like Red Dead Redemption 2, the game on its own, if another company tried to make that, why do you think it wouldn't have been good? I'm gonna let you answer that, and then I'll ask my other question.
I just think, I don't know, maybe it's because of Rockstar's budget or something. I just feel like, I don't really have a proper answer, but I feel like Rockstar tend to just absolutely nail their games a lot better. Like let's take another game for an example, like Watch Dogs Legion. It's made by Ubisoft, was it? It was, wasn't it? Yeah. That game had so much promise, a free roam game in London that has a story, but the only reason I got it is because like I'm originally from London and I wanted to see how well they did it. And they didn't do it very well. If Rockstar had done that, I feel like they would have absolutely smashed it. Rockstar doing a free roam game in like the UK or in London or something like that, they would absolutely smash it.
The thing with Watch Dogs Legion was there was a lot of like very cool like mechanics that they were doing. Like the whole thing when they announced like, it was like, I'm pretty sure this is like one of the first games that was like post Brexit. So it kind of like scared everyone to like, oh, this is what Britain's going to be, isn't it? But then when they were like, oh, well, there's no real protagonist, you can become anyone that you see in the game. And they've all got different stats and like skills and abilities and all this. And
it's permadeath with the characters, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I think you can res people, but you say if like one of your characters dies or whatever, you can go back to there if you have a certain skill. I'm not sure. But
yeah, you have to like recruit. If a player gets killed in combat, yeah, you have to recruit like a paramedic.
It's like, hey, come work for this weird like company. It's like, okay, well, go take my mail for me to the post office, and then yeah, sure, I'll go around and killing people. On paper, it sounds sick. Like, oh, you can literally be anyone you interact with. Even the bad guys, like they can be like a few of them are spies and stuff, which is it's a cool concept, but it was executed so badly. I can see what you mean. But my second question, bringing it back to Red Dead and sort of like the line between like an actual video game versus experience is with Red Dead, and I'm gonna keep with Red Dead because I feel like they show off mechanics. So again, with the store and like how slow you are and like with the horse and stuff, it's not just like half the game, because I've like with some games, and I can't think of one at the top of my head, but like when like games have looting and crafting and stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of games at the start, it'll be slow, won't it? You'll have to take your time. And then by the end of the game, because you will usually get like skill points or something like that, where you can do everything like extremely fast. Like a lot of the games, so Far Cry 3 comes, for example, is where you will have to loot individual bodies, but then you'll get like skills where if you stealth take down someone, you'll automatically loot them, or you can loot in a general area instead of one person at all. But with Red Dead,
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 though, they don't do any of that. Like the only like sort of quote unquote skill is their Deadeye. Like other than that, like you still have to individually loot every single body at the end of the game. You still have to take your time. Like you can't just sprint full speed across. Like obviously your horse, for example, can get stamina, but you can't have unlimited horse sprint or like NOS on your horse. They really do dedicate themselves to like, this is an experience. This is going to go on for a really long time, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I love that.
Yeah, because look at the games like you just said, like you build up like a skill tree and stuff, and all the looting. Take Assassin's Creed for an example. You're building up your assassin who is he's above everybody else. He is more skilled than everybody else. He is like, I guess, this sort of like, I guess you could say superpower in a way. Whereas in Red Dead, you are what you are. You are just like a bandit. There's thousands in that time. You're not above anybody. Everybody's equal. So you've just got to train yourself as a player to play better than like NPCs or if you're online other characters. There's no reason that like you deserve to be better, because you are just, they're trying to go from the angle of you are just a person in that time. So make what you can of it.
To be fair, that's a really good point. I've never looked at it that way, because you just assume like in every game that you play that's like open or semi-open world is, you kind of just expect, like, I mean, I go into games thinking, well, what are the skill points? You know, what can I upgrade my character to? I've never sort of looked at it in the sense of like, you know, this is who you are. Like, you'll get familiar with the game and the world and you'll get better at it, but we're not going to put you above anyone else. Like the way you've just explained that too, because you know, back at them times, it was like, you know, you weren't ahead of anyone. And obviously, if you played Red Dead 2 and the entire story, you know, it's not like, oh, well, we're just going to get rich. Like, kind of what you do on GTA and like Saints Row. It's like, oh, well, there's issues, there's death, there's problems with you being an outlaw.
Exactly. You hit humane problems throughout it. I mean, excuse me. I mean, like
tuberculosis.
Am I? Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, am I allowed to say it? But you know what? You've had enough time to play it now. Your character ends up getting a life-threatening disease, which slows him down. Which just sort of enforces the fact you're just a dude that's living in that time.
You're just a cowboy, man.
Exactly. You're not going back to like, let's take a really old Assassin's Creed game. Like you're not in Brotherhood where there's like hierarchy throughout like Italy, where you're like in Rome and you have like kings. You have like I don't know. You for example, an assassin that's sort of like above everybody else. You are just, like I've said before, you are just a person. You are just sort of cracking on, doing your own thing. Like you're not living in a world of hierarchy. You're living in a dog eat dog world in that game.
It's funny you mentioned Assassin's Creed and like you being better than everyone else, because I know you mentioned Brotherhood, but the one Assassin's Creed that comes to mind is the recent ones. Odyssey. If you haven't played Odyssey, like the story is like you're a descendant from Spartacus himself. Sorry, not Spartacus, Leonidas. And you obviously have a spear that's broken in half, which is your quote unquote hidden blade. The skill points in that are crazy. Like there's one, because it's an RPG and obviously the world is a lot bigger, but there's one skill point where you don't take full damage. So you just throw yourself off the cliff. And it's like, it comes to a point where you are a literal god. But then people are just like, which interferes with the story when like you're speaking to NPCs and it's like, wow, you're a great fighter, aren't you? It's like, I don't take damage. Like, I am God, you know?
That's OP. I've never played it, but that sounds OP.
You become so OP at the end. It's
that's
mental.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous though. And that's why I think people have really invested in Red Dead, because you have none of that. You have like small things that can help you along the game, like the cinematic, like sort of view when you're like, if you're riding across the map on your horse and you want to go, I don't know, go make a coffee in the kitchen and you come back and you're almost there. You know, if you did that in a game like Assassin's Creed a lot of the time where you are this sort of like superpower, you would just get there. If I do cinematic view on Red Dead and I go make a coffee and I come back, chances are that I'm sort of like, my horse is dead and I'm stuck under a wagon because he's just decided to run into someone.
Yeah. They are very different games though, which I won't sort of like deny that, and I think that's where the storytelling versus like video game comes from. Because the exception I'll give with the later Assassin's Creed, especially Odyssey and Valhalla and Origins, is they do creep into the mythology side. So it's understandable why with the story itself, but also the game, like, you know, some of the side quests and villains and what have you, they do have a lot of mythology things, which I do love. Like, I'm a big fan of mythology. So Valhalla, for example, there's like a separate world where you're like pretending to be Odin and like you meet Thor and all of these people, but they'll have fights with all of that. I want to ask you that comparing them two games, for example, because they're both AAA games. You know, they're both widely loved, and honestly, both are still successful, even though a lot of people are still in between for the new Assassin's Creed, like being RPG types, and like they still feel a little bit rushed, which I do agree with. What do you think about more games being more like Red Dead, where they do say, like, I mean, because for example, the Red Dead 2 prologue is like what 2 to 3 hours long when like you're in the snow and like before you could like set up your camp and like say now you can free roam.
Yeah, but that's good. That's the game you've bought, and I know you can say that about anything, but you know that is the game that you've paid for. You are somebody who at the start is trying to travel to find like the perfect place to settle because you know you're just somebody trying to survive. And I've heard lots of complaints about that, and I've heard people saying you know it's too long. You can't do this. You can't speed it up. If you know what, if you want a game like that, go play Assassin's Creed. Go play God of War, where you are this freak of nature.
I really do hope that games sort of put their foot down and say, look, this is the game we're creating. We want to tell the story in, you know, the 1800s, you know, Victorian times, the future, whatever, you know, sort of time period it may be, but then go, but we're going to take our time. And this game is going to be however long it takes you to complete it. You know, I think Red Dead roughly goes around the 50-hour mark, depending on one, how fast you're playing, two, if you're doing like the side missions and open world. But that's it, you know. I've never personally understood like how a game is too long. Only in games where the story sucks. You know, for like Red Dead. Red Dead and Last of Us Part 2 is a game where I was so surprised about how long the game was. Because Last of Us 1 was roughly around 20 hours, depending on how you play it. And I would say 20 hours is a pretty good give or take, depending on if you're playing it for the first time, because obviously you are scavenging and stuff. But with Part 2, oh my God, I was so shocked when like you literally come to half the game and you think, this is like a nice little chunk of the game. It's probably going to end now. And then you play as Abby, which again, no spoilers, because you should have played it already and you've probably seen it. And then I'm thinking, oh, this is just going to be like a couple of hours, you know, maybe 2 to 3, because we're just getting inside of the head. And that goes on like an extra like 15. And then you do the little epilogue with Ellie, and it's like, oh, this is a great game. And then it goes on for even longer. And you're like, I can see where people are saying, oh, it could have ended there. You know, that was a nice little ending to it. But then they just keep going and going. But what's wrong with a longer game, especially if you're enjoying it?
Especially with the price of games nowadays, you know, I'm paying 60 quid. I want it to go on that long. I want to get everything I can out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're only getting more expensive, aren't they, really? But
exactly.
But that's a good point you bring up, though. And I know we're talking about a lot of games here in a like kind of a short space, but I think it's a good point. So last week, Resident Evil Village came out, and I've kind of been waiting because I play PC, and obviously I'm not a fan of the FOV, which I know is a really weird excuse to not play it. But, you know, all over YouTube and stuff, because it's been such a popular game, there's been so many people playing it, and obviously with the sexy vampire lady, you know, all the mods that have been coming out. But I was wondering, like, how many like hours is this game? Because there's so many people completing it. And I saw a tweet from Jacksepticeye saying, oh, we're going to be doing speed runs of the game. I'm going to try and complete it under the 2 hours for my personal best. I'm like, what? And so I Googled, I was like, how long is Resident Evil Village? And the rough time was like 10 to 15 hours. And I'm like, is that worth it for the price?
It's not worth the price.
Like, I know you can get it cheaper on PC, you know, like if you're using like external game websites and stuff. Again, it kind of falls into that category. It's like, yes, it is a survival sort of horror game. And it does, like, especially of recent, when they've transferred to first person, Resident Evil have gone more story based. But it's like, where does that line fall for like a game versus like an open world game like Red Dead versus a horror game like Resident Evil and like potentially Outlast? Like Outlast, have you played Outlast?
Yeah,
the first one?
It scared me, but I played it.
Yeah,
I can't really remember it because I spent a lot of the time hiding.
But Outlast, there's no attacking. You know, it's just you getting from one place to another, running away from things, being scared, and then that's it. Like my sort of like point is like I feel like a lot of people will complain about an open world story game like Red Dead, but they won't complain about like a horror story game being Resident Evil because the experience is very different. And with a horror game, I feel like I'm rambling a lot here, but I hope I'm making sense. With a horror game, you're sort of getting that like emotions up because you are being scared, you are getting that blood rushing, and there is a story then and there. But with Red Dead, and again, they are very different. I'm not trying to compare them, but Red Dead is more of like this long-winded sort of experience more than like gameplay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand you.
Yeah, although Red Dead does have so many mechanics which are fantastic. The hunting and the looting and the fishing are sick.
There's so much cool stuff that goes with Red Dead. If you go, you know what? I can't even remember the name. Is it an Arabian horse, the one you get in like a snowy area? It's like meant to be the quickest in the game or something.
I could not tell you.
I think
all my horses are dead.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I went and got it because I remember I ended up googling like best horse in the game, and I think it was that one. I got it, and when you ride past people on it, they like compliment your horse and stuff. And
yeah,
the fact that
the details in that is
it's insane.
It is generally on another level.
The fact as well that you have to like, if you shave off all your hair, you can't then just go and get like a GTA style haircut. You have to wait for it to grow. That's insane.
That was one of my favorite things when the game was like teasing the release and stuff, and it was like, you know, oh, horse testicles will shrink in the snow. It's like one, who's gonna know that? But two, the fact that they've put that in there, and obviously
insane.
like like your beard grows and like it'll grow to a certain length unless you use an elixir. But again, going back to what you said, like Rockstar would be the only one to do it well. If they're putting details like that, yeah, because if you go back and look on YouTube and think GTA details, even on like the original like Xbox 360 PS3 for what it originally released on, there's so many details of what like you wouldn't expect it to be in, like the water on your clothes and like the footprints that you do on the sand and stuff. Like it's all crazy.
Yeah, there's this one as well that's like, there was an achievement or it's like a hunting thing that I had to do, and it was something like kill 4 birds of prey with a tomahawk or something, and I was like sort of waiting around, couldn't find them, they weren't landing, and I got bored because I was waiting.
Is this on Red Dead or GTA?
This is on Red Dead.
Okay, yeah.
And then a deer ran past, and I was like, you know what, I've had enough. So I shot the deer and just sort of like skinned it, and I walked off, and I can't remember what I was doing, and I came back, and where I shot the deer, birds of prey had come down, were eating it.
It's the only game company that I think comes close to details like that is Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
If you've looked at The Last of Us Part 2 details, it's incredible. Like
the sweat and stuff, if you zoom in on the characters. It's stuff you're never going to see, but it's just there because it would happen in real life. Yeah,
it is phenomenal. For you saying that, though, because hunting is a big thing in Red Dead, and I know this podcast is mainly just going to be Red Dead, but we'll move on shortly. But
I'm happy with that.
Well, yeah, we might be, but the viewers might not. Would you like if Red Dead goes, here's Red Dead Online, but we're going to make it into like this open world survival co-op game?
Yes.
Like, amazing. How sick would that be? Because it's all there. The mechanics are there. You just need to make Red Dead Online better.
Just like get a few mates, build up a camp, go hunting, do all of that stuff.
You start from being making a camp, and then all the way to like what was it Saint Denis? Was like the sort of the rich town, and you could have like your own house and stuff. I think that'd be sick.
You can get into like one of the massive houses online, I think. In Saint Denis.
Yeah.
Also,
you can get in, but you won't own it.
No, but you can pretend. I mean, it's a bit boring after like a minute and a half, but I'll tell you what though, right? Going back to when we said about Watch Dogs and how it could have been so much better if Rockstar did it. In Red Dead, you have a bounty in a place because obviously you've been wanted. You go back, the law will come for you, or bounty hunters will come after you. Do that with like Watch Dogs. If you don't sort of like provoke anyone in Watch Dogs. No one's going to do anything. You're in inner city London. I should be walking down an alley at like in the middle of the night and getting jumped by a gang. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot that they've sort of missed out on.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Watch Dogs because I really liked Watch Dogs 1 and 2. I thought they were like 2 from 1 was a really big step up, even just from the color palette. But I think the one thing my main issue is about Ubisoft, and this goes for all their games, like even Assassin's Creed, is the cutscenes and the when you speak to AI, it's just terrible. It's so boring, and it's like the games like The Last of Us, Red Dead, like all of these like proper focus like single player games is even Spider-Man, like the cutscenes and when you speak to AI are just so much more like intriguing. Like if it's something that I'm not asked about, I'm just gonna skip it. I'm just not bothered. And with Watch Dogs Legion, the fact that I've got to speak to every single person if I want them to like be a playable character, I'm not gonna bother. The first couple of times it's cool. It's like, oh my god, this person needs medication, or me to go run this person over. Then they can help me, and then I can play as them. But then after that, I'm like, I'm not like a fucking clown. I'm not gonna keep going over to all of these people because I'm not bothered. And because there's no protagonist, why should I care about the story? Blow up Parliament.
Exactly.
See if I care. See you, Boris.
You start as well, like getting areas like uncovered, like Hackney and Islington and stuff like that, and then you start to be able to recruit football hooligans, and it is just juvenile the way it's done. It looks like some kids bought like a knockoff football like kit, and it's horrendous.
I didn't get that far.
Oh, it's horrendous. What really, really annoyed me as well, almost the most, is you can walk down to the entrance of the tube station and then it's a fast travel option. I want to go into the tube station. It's what the underground is arguably one of the biggest features in London.
Yeah, it's
like,
iconic,
you think
isn't
of London,
it?
Yeah, you think of London, you think London Eye, you think Houses of Parliament, you think the underground. Why can't I go there? I can see the London Eye. Well, yeah, Buckingham Palace is another one. See, there's so many features of London, but still the biggest one is the underground. Why can't I go down there?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, because this is very quickly turning into a hate for Watch Dogs Legion, but you know what? We're sticking with it. There's another... comparing games like that, though, I'm a big fan of customization in games, whether that's character or clothing. There's no shops in Watch Dogs Legion. Because it's like in the future,
you stand outside.
It's just like a projected screen, and that's all you do. It's like you couldn't, like, even Watch Dogs 2 had physical in different shops. So why could you not implement that? It's such a mess.
I feel like it was rushed, but it was still delayed by like a year.
Yeah. If you're thinking about playing Watch Dogs Legion, I mean, give it a shot. You might love it. Otherwise, join our club.
Game.
I mean, it is though. How many people have said to you, "Oh my god, I can't wait to go and play Watch Dogs Legion"?
Well, before it came out, quite a few.
What do you mean before it came out?
But when it came out, well, because it's an open world London game.
Yeah, but how many people have said to you like they've actually brought it and they've played it and they've finished it?
Like one person, maybe.
Exactly.
It's got cool features, but it just doesn't work as a game.
Yeah, but they're very lackluster. If you're gonna play Watch Dogs, go play Watch Dogs 2. It's the best one. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that comes to our end of the discussion of Red Dead and Watch Dogs Legion. I think talking about that, it is very interesting though for how, because I'm going to make one final point of this topic, sort of storytelling versus gaming, is over the last 5 to 10 years, graphics have gotten insane, and it used to be that if a game was coming out, the cutscenes and stuff were all done like animated, or they weren't in the game's engine. But now, Red Dead, I believe, I hope I'm not wrong on that, but more recent games are using just the in-game engine. Like everything you see in cutscenes is the game, and that's incredible. So I'm very excited for the future, especially for games like God of War 2, the new, hopefully The Last of Us, whenever they bring that, GTA 6, of how they're going to do it, because Rockstar and especially Sony exclusives and stuff, they absolutely smash it. So I'm very excited of how they take that to the extreme next level. and that's very exciting.
If Rockstar jump on the realism bandwagon that they did with Red Dead and chuck that into GTA 6, that would be insane. That's in modern day. Imagine, you have to keep guns on your horse in Red Dead. Imagine having to drive around your own personal vehicle. Given the mission, given what you're trying to do, you have to get a select amount of guns out of your car, and that's it.
Just keep them in your boot.
As cool as it was, just keep them in the boot of your car, because as cool as it was for when I just wanted to go around in GTA and just cause mayhem, it was a bit unrealistic when I was in the middle of a mission. I was getting a bit of a paste in here. Bam, there's an RPG done. I
mean, back when it released, though, it was so detailed, but it's crazy to think.
At the time.
Yeah, but no, it's very exciting looking forward, and especially seeing what the limits that games are doing now of compared to what it will be in the next 5 years, because it's not a long time. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's very exciting, whether you're passionate about gaming or even just the experience. Again, I think games like that, Death Stranding and things, they're so fun to watch because it is more of an experience. You're not missing out if you're not having to play the game. Let us know in the comments. What do you prefer, storytelling or gameplay? You know what though? I think that might be a great time to go to our ad reel. Don't you?
I think it's a perfect time.
Because I smell a sponsor coming our way. Not The Rock. I don't smell The Rock or what he's cooking, but I do smell a sponsor. So I think we'll jump to the sponsor and then we'll head back. Take it away, fellow person.
This podcast is sponsored by Apparel 5. AP5 are at the cutting edge of teamwear and apparel design, helping many teams look the freshest they've ever been. Give them a visit at www.apparel5.com for all your team's merchandising needs. Wait, is that another sponsor? I think it is. We'd also like to give a huge thank you to the Strive Group. The Strive Group are working to ensure all workplace environments remove any barriers to individuals' careers and personal progression that may be brought on by unconscious bias. The apprenticeship training agency has now launched and is looking to help those in need. Find out more at www.strive2work.uk. And now, without further ado, with no more delays, with no more deliberation, just get on with it! Yeah, you're right. Okay, back to the podcast.
And we're back! Would you believe it, Frank?
I don't.
No, I don't. Where am I? Who am I? He's too distracted. Well, anyway, we're back. Thank you to whoever did that ad reel. Be sure to check them out. We're still here.
Check who out? The person doing the ad reel or the sponsors?
Why not both?
Both?
Yeah. Just link everything down below. Link the shopping list, link the ad reel, link the person doing the ad reel. We'll just link it all. If you're wondering why the description is an essay, it's just information for you. But back to our podcast. How excited are you for the games that are coming out soon?
I'm excited for Biomutant. I literally
that's out soon, right?
I think so. I don't really know. I know nothing about it. I haven't really watched any gameplay, any trailers. I've just sort of seen, stills and stuff, and it looks so cool because I don't know if, you know what, I think we had this conversation the other day actually, but it reminds me of that old PS2 game, Legend of K, and I don't know if you've played that.
No, you did, because I responded, what is that? And then you said, it's this game.
That did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game, and you're I think you're like a tiger cub or something, and you just go on martial arts and stuff.
Is that not the same as Ty the Tasmanian Tiger?
I don't know.
You don't know what that is?
No.
Oh, that was like the OG game for me, But Biomutan's out in 4 days.
Oh, what? I'm well excited. What animal is he?
It's out on Tuesday.
Raccoon? Is he a fox? Is he a fish? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean,
he's definitely not a fish. He might be a hamster.
I mean, he could be all of them.
Speaking of which, I've got a hamster coming today. Not in the post. I've got to go pick him up.
Can you imagine that? I'm sorry.
Get shoved through the letterbox.
Oh, well, no, don't say shove. You're not animal cruelty. You can imagine
that isn't happening anyway. I'm driving to go and collect him.
I know, but you can imagine it's like, oh yeah, you check like a little Amazon app. It's like your hamster's going to be 4 stops away. It's just a weird thing.
He's going to be called Percy, and there's going to be a game like Biomutant with him in it. Because I sent Ty a picture of him yesterday, and he's an absolute unit, isn't he?
Yeah, unit's an understatement. It might be when, you know, the scene on every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is where they get the mutation and start. I think that's what's happened with your hamster. So by the time you've drove it home, you're going to notice it's got like an extra 40% muscle.
He's driving me home, mate. Right, should we talk about Biomutant now?
Yeah.
We digressed horrendously.
It's very. I think this might be probably the latest like triple A game that's coming out this year. We've had Resident Evil come out.
Yeah.
I think that's all I can think of, really. Days Gone PC. I'm excited about that, but we'll talk about that in a second.
We can, because I've been playing it on PlayStation, so we'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, really?
I have.
What is it about Biomutant then that's got you so intrigued?
It just looks so cool. Like, the bosses are massive. Your playable character is tiny, so I just want to go, you know what? How am I taking that thing down? It's a bit like, you know, God of War. I haven't got that far into God of War because I've been very on and off with it. But I just had to fight the dragon from that, like, mountain. And I'm just there the whole time thinking, like, how am I beating this thing? And then I did, and it was cool. I want that with Biomutant. I'm looking for, yeah, it was. And I'm looking forward to looking down how I'm going to take down these, like, massive enemies. The fact that it looks really sort of, like, post-apocalyptic, and it just does look like it's just an absolutely obliterated city. And I want to know what animal he is.
I think it's a combination, right? That's why it's Biomutant. Yeah, I so you haven't seen anything then, like gameplay-wise? Or have you just seen the bare bones?
I've seen like the bare minimum of it.
Because the release date is next week, they've been releasing quite a few like final reviews and like about the gameplay and stuff. And I watched one the other day, and it looks really good, and I hope it does sort of like be successful. The thing that got me is when I saw the first trailer was they described it as like a kung fu like style of fighting, which is just sick. Like, you're this really small animal. It just reminds me of Rocket Raccoon from the MCU, and you just like running around. That's like
Legend of K.
Yeah, they said there was a lot of inspiration of games similar to that, like the Legend of Zelda on this Switch was a big inspiration. But it looks like a really, even though obviously, you know, open world, third person, blah blah blah, it's not exactly new. I think this is a really cool direction they're doing because of like you're playing as an animal and like extreme bright colors.
Yeah,
and a few people at Adamo here in MCB have been really excited too. So, I'm sure one of us would do a video on that. So, very exciting. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It does look good.
Well,
it does look really, really good.
Well, in the next couple of podcasts, maybe you'll find out what we think about it. You know, are we a raccoon? Yeah. Are we anything? Is life really this?
My hamster.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you know, we'll never know. But Days Gone. Jump onto Days Gone.
So I'm not going to give too much away because I know that you haven't played it yet.
Don't give anything away.
I'm not going to give anything away.
Well, you said I'm not going to give too much away. I don't want to know anything.
Okay.
About the story.
Okay. I know Days Gone.
Yeah. Days Gone. That's gone. No, I know you're like your name Deacon or something, and you're a biker, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. But it's finally out on PC, which is the most exciting part.
Then buy it so we can talk more in depth. But
I will.
So I got it for free last month, I think, on PlayStation. And it's a game that I've wanted for ages, but I just didn't want to justify spending the money for it because it was always a really expensive game. And then got it for free. So
like most other games bargain. Are,
though. I mean, yeah.
You know.
And I was really excited for it because, you know, open world, free roam aspect zombie game. Don't really have that. That's not Last of Us. Last of Us, you sort of follow more of a platform. And you know what? It's good. It feels... I don't really know what it feels like, to be honest. Definitely doesn't feel like The Last of Us. Ish, actually. Yeah, kind of like Horizon.
Is it the same? I think it's the same engine, right? When I saw the gameplay, it looked very like built on the same engine sort of thing. But
maybe I don't know.
I have two questions about Days Gone.
Okay. Fire away.
Are they called zombies, or do they have another term for them?
Actually, since you said that, I don't think I've actually recalled a character calling them zombies.
Because, you know, like, I remember when the first Last of Us came out, and they were like, oh my God, the zombies. And then Neil Druckmann, the director, was like, no, they're called infected. It's like, oh right, okay.
There's never sort of like. I mean, somebody might comment on this and correct me, but I haven't really played that much of it.
Okay.
I don't remember a character ever referring to them as zombies, but then I haven't really heard them refer to them as sort of like a collective term. They've had like individual names for the sort of zombie they are, like, and I can't even remember what they are. So in like Last of Us, you have clickers, and stuff like that, and yeah.
You don't pay a lot of attention, do you? You're too scared to pay attention for like details like that. I know you.
Yeah, pretty much. But then again, I haven't played it for that long, so I haven't got that far into the game. There's a couple of aspects I'd have liked to have seen more so far. Like, I loved it was unrealistic, but I loved the sort of like listening system you had in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Don't really get that. That'd have been quite cool.
I barely used that. I felt like it was a bit out there.
I used it quite a lot.
I did,
Maybe
to be fair.
I was scared.
Yeah, playing part 2, I actually forgot half the game. It was there. And I was like, and I pressed the button. I was like, whoa. I was like, yes, I've got my ears, haven't I?
I didn't use it at all in, the office block thing where you got the stalkers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Horrible.
Why do we keep jumping back to part 2? Supposed to be talking about days. I know, it's too tough. You have too many opinions.
We do. It's quite difficult to talk about Days Gone because you haven't played it, and I don't want to give anything away. But this isn't going to give anything away. But what I find really, really cool, they've almost jumped on a bit of a sort of realism bandwagon as well in terms of like, I mean, your vehicle's very sort of like temperamental, and I know that in other games you can obviously break your vehicle by crashing it, but you can fix it in Days Gone. You can get off and you can fix the engine, and you run out of fuel. You have to be looking around all the time to make sure that you're fueled up.
That's exciting. Can't be just zooming around, can we, in the apocalypse with unlimited fuel? We don't have Tesla bikes now.
No. And where would you charge them anyway?
Good point. You see, this is why it doesn't happen. But no, I'm
exactly.
I think Days Gone was one of the 2 only exclusive games that I never got the chance to play. So I'm extremely happy now it's on PC, because obviously PC is better. For everyone out there on consoles, we are better than you. It also, did I come across menacing then? That was my plan.
No, you just sounded like a bit of a.
I mean, I think I did earlier by accident, but there was like, just picture me like a really dark shadow behind me when I say PC is better. More ha ha, like Count Dracula or some sort. But no, this with, again, bringing up The Last of Us, but there was a recent article saying, Days Gone 2 isn't happening because of the like Last of Us Part 2 and stuff, or something to do with them. But I hope that now Days Gone is on PC, which is the 3rd or 4th, maybe 5th, maybe 6th exclusive. I don't know. That's from PlayStation to PC, and the feedback's been great. The reviews are really good, better than Horizon. So I hope that means now in the future it's like, okay, well, people like this stuff, people have brought it, it's made us money. Let's just keep bringing exclusives to PC, because that's what we like. As exclusives on its own entity, Xbox and PlayStation, even Switch, it's like, yes, that's cool. It gives you more of a reason to buy said console. But now, I feel like we're all over it. Crossplay is more of a thing, playing with other people on platforms. And it's kind of just like, why are we still doing this? Yeah,
they should incorporate more crossplay games, 100%.
Yeah, let us play with everyone and stuff. And I feel like since obviously the lockdown and things like that a lot more games have sort of added it in if they can. But I do think like in the upcoming, like I say, in the next 5-10 years, most games will have it of some sort, which is good.
Well, you live in hope.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing, because why wouldn't you want to play with other people? Why should we all be restricted in terms of one, accessibility, but also playing games? Because if it's I know Days Gone is a single player game, but if it's a multiplayer game, it just adds more community, more players playing that game. The longevity of the game stays on for longer.
You could do cool stuff. You could do cool stuff if there was an online Days Gone that was like crossplay. You could literally use it as a zombie survival. I know that's what the game technically is, but You get a group of players together. You build your sort of your own base. You have to go out and get supplies, and you sort of go as a team and have to fight your way through these like hordes of zombies and stuff. That would be cool.
It would, but now that brings me to a question you've posed to me.
I'm keeping you thinking today.
You are, yeah. You're keeping me on my ballerina toes, as they say in the business. When it comes to single player games, and I'll take PlayStation exclusives because they have more like pure single player games, and there's a few out there. What do you think about them only being single player games? Like, would you prefer them, for example, like Days Gone, have an online mode, just there as it is, or would you prefer like games like, again, put their foot down and say, look, this is just a single player game?
No, always have it as an option, I'd say.
Yeah? What happens if it's bad?
What
happens if it sucks?
Well, then, I don't know, have it out for a month, get the reviews back, and then if people want an online, listen to your fans and have a downloadable like thing for it. Because, you know, it would work. Like we said about the Days Gone, if they had an online, that would work. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. Even Last of Us 2, why shouldn't that work?
Yeah, well, I mean, The Last of Us 1 had the online, but that was multiplayer. And there was rumours about Part 2 having, again, multiplayer, but I don't know what's happening with that.
But if I remember correctly, there wasn't like Infected on The Last of Us 1 online, was there? It was literally just team deathmatch sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like a 4v4. It was cool. I liked it. It's like with Uncharted. Uncharted's a great single player series, and then a few of them, I think 2 and 3 had multiplayer. I don't think it did 4, but 1 didn't. And it's like, so. Because I remember some having multiplayer, but then some didn't. It's like, well, make up your mind for one, but also like, is it worth it if it's going to take away from a single player experience? One, like resources, you know, are you like halving people working on the single player game to, bring out an extra mode to bring in more players? Who knows? Yeah. I'm on the edge about it because I think single player games, God of War, Spider-Man, Days Gone, Horizon and stuff, they are all exceptional single player games, whether it's a story or experience, a single player, it's great, but a lot of them, hell, even all of them actually would still work if there was some sort of co-op / multiplayer thing. And I remember Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the second one in the reboot of the trilogy. They have a mode where it's like, it's an open world sort of survival thing. And it's like this, it's not fully fleshed out, but it's quite decent. And I kept thinking, like, because you've already got the resources, like you craft stuff in the single player game anyway, you've kind of just filtered that into this open thing. And you're in the snow and you're trying to survive. It's like, this would be really cool if there was co-op. But it was never like that. But that was it. Like, it was just like this little like game mode essentially. But it's like, it'd be cool if they started doing things like that. But then they'll only go like 50% of the way. Like, why have a separate game mode about an open survival game? Because they're still really popular now, but only do single player, or do an online mode, but then it sucks. It's like, it's so weird how they do it all. I much prefer them if they go, look, this is what you gain. It's a single player experience, that's it. And then obviously, like you said, if the fans want it and it works, then add it in later.
I think it depends on what game. Like you said, Spider-Man. How would you do an online Spider-Man when there is only one Spider-Man?
Because you've got Miles Morales, you've got Black Cat. The easiest way to do it is as Miles Morales, but it'd be cool, wouldn't it? Like, can you imagine a co-op Spider-Man game? You're both just swinging around.
Yeah, it would be cool.
It would. I'm not saying it needs it because Spider-Man on its own was so good, but it wouldn't be extra. But I think speaking of games that are single player and co-op and new releases, Subnautica Below Zero. You like how I brought that in there?
Oh, great!
You like that transition, didn't you? I know you
do.
did.
I love Under the Sea as well. The ocean is so cool. Well, that too, but the actual physical ocean that we have on Earth. is amazing. Did you know that you could only stroke a shark one way, and that's from its nose to its tail? Because if you did it the other way, it's got like almost like razors on its back, and you cut your hand to shreds. Did you know that?
I actually did know that. Yeah,
that's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is very cool. There's a lot of cool facts about Under the Sea, but unfortunately, we're not David Attenborough, or this isn't a Planet Sea show. But
no.
Stay tuned to our Planet Sea show coming soon with Frankie and I. No podcast near you. But no, Subnautica is, again, like it's an open. If you don't know about it, it's a cool game. I don't know how the age rating is really low, but it should be an 18 plus because it's extremely scary. But it's an open crafting survival game, but it's obviously based in under the sea and in these alien worlds. It's got the sequel. Sequels just came out. I've been playing it. I think I've put in about 13 hours already, which is mad. But that's a game that would really work with co-op because it would just be fun.
What, like build a base under the sea with a mate sort of thing and try and collect all this stuff, and then build stuff to go and fight all these massive things.
You don't particularly fight him, but it's more like, again, I mean, you can because there is like sort of weapons, but I think it would just be cool to have that as an option. And it's mad because the first one has an actual like co-op mod, like somebody has made. And so it'll be really interesting to see if they make one for the second.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to like wonder what the developers think when people are making like particular mods and think, oh, a co-op mod that's like the most subscribed and people are like really enjoying it. Like, I wonder why we didn't think of that. I don't know if it's because it will, again, get rid of that single player experience, because the second one, and particularly speaking, and I won't give anything away because it is new, it is more story based. It isn't just like an open survival game. It's like, hey, survive, craft your base and do whatever. There is a really good story in there, but one can hope,
But single player survival games would 100% work as multiplayers. Look, they started off with Don't Starve, where you could play just solo, and then they came out with Don't Starve together, and it's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways of doing it. I don't know if you've played Green Hell.
No, you told me about it though.
Yeah,
I completely forgot it.
It's set in the Amazon rainforest, and it's like a really hard survival game. But the way they do single player versus co-op is you can play the story, but you have to respond to people like on your walkie-talkie, but you won't just do it as one person. So like for example, if a cutscene happens, you won't all watch the cutscene. You will all have to like do the cutscene together. Or for example, the walkie-talkie is you have to respond and you don't even have to. Then it gets to a certain point in the story is where it's like, hey, this is part of the story now. You've got to wait for everyone to be ready. And then at the end of the game, towards then, it's like, okay, well, this is the end of the game now. And when games are like, you can't, like, quote unquote, you can't go back, even though you can. It's like, just finish up everything you're doing. They do essentially, it's like, we're gonna take you to a single player game now because we're at the end. And I thought that's really cool how they did it. So like, you're all experiencing it, but it's on your own terms. Whereas, whereas the forest, you can just do the entire game together. And again, I won't spoil anything because it's probably the best survival game. And I know you're playing it or we're playing it because you're still a scared little boy. But when it comes to cutscenes and that, you just like if you decide to like interact with a said thing, the other player just watches.
Yeah, I've only played it on my own, and it terrified me. And because I got a PlayStation, you got a PC, that's where I wish there was crossplay on that, because I don't think I'd be as scared.
No. It is a tough game because it's so dark. But they're really, I mean, again, bringing it back, we're pretty good at this, aren't we? It's like we're professionals. So upcoming games. I know you haven't played it, so you probably won't have a strong opinion, but I've put in around 40, 50 hours in the forest. The new one is supposed to be coming out this year. Fingers crossed, it's not going to be delayed, and that looks incredible. So we can hope they might have a crossplay. Who knows?
Yeah, well, again, we live in hope.
We do live in hope. But it's a great game. Subnautica, both of them, I'm going to say, and the Forest and Green Hell. I'll throw in Green Hell there. So there's technically 4 games, but I'll say 3 are probably the best survival open world games there is. And if you haven't played them and you're a fan of games like that, go enjoy them. They're all co-op except from Subnautica, unless you're modding it. But they're great. Scary, great.
Is Green Hell based off the film Green Inferno?
No, very different. One's cannibalism, the other one is upsetting.
Oh,
in a
isn't there like
in a sense.
Tribes or like cannibal tribes in Green Hell?
No, there's tribes, yes, but just because they're a tribe does not mean they're cannibalisms.
Well, no, obviously not. Like I knew there were tribes, but I was just wondering if any were like not specifically cannibals, but out to kill you.
The forests are the cannibals. Green Hell is just a tribe, but again, because it's quite a new game, so I won't say anything. But there's more of a story to Green Hell, and I don't want to say one thing or another because it's really interesting and it's great. And there is DLC coming out. The first part's out, but the other 2 I'm still waiting for because I want to play them all together. But it's a really in-depth game, and it's really hard when you start playing it.
I'm looking forward to it being on Steam and not being available for Mac. That's something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, but that's on you though, isn't it?
That is on me.
It's like, I play on console and I also have a Mac. Like, I can't wait to play all these games. Like, I know your reasoning why. It's not, you're not like probably the 2% who are like, I want to get into gaming. Let me buy a Mac. Like you have a legitimate reason, but still, this is what I mean. Going forward, we're going to hope that console and PC and Mac, they burn all of these bridges, cross-play in every game, cross-progression, all of it. And we can be connected again.
We need to live in a world of love rather than a world of hate.
Wow, isn't that a positive message for the people out there? That's great.
It is.
I felt my heart warm and increase in size.
Oh.
I know, right? I'll tell you what, though. Speaking of, like, sort of crossing things over, are you up to date with COD?
Not really. Like, the last thing I played was Warzone. I ended up deleting it because it was all right, but it wasn't worth taking up 100 gig of data.
It's more than 100 gig now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not downloading it then.
Yeah, I think it's like 120, maybe. And to be fair, they have done a lot to reduce it. So I think on it, so if you're only downloading Warzone, it'll near enough 100. But because they're doing the integration with Cold War and stuff, John Rambo and is it John? It is John Rambo, isn't it? They're both called John.
I'm gonna Google it because Rambo's a great film.
It is. I'm pretty sure it's John Rambo, but also John McClane from Die Hard are both in Call of Duty now, like as their actual characters, which is crazy to think about. Well, it is crazy to think about, but then also Activision also have the stupidest amount of money that can throw licensing fees at everyone. They could probably get like Mickey Mouse or someone to be in COD if they wanted to.
It's John Rambo.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm so good.
You are good.
So all it takes to be an 80s action hero is have the first name John and to have a cool catchphrase.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this, even though if you're a fan of COD and you'll already know this, but everything comes under the store. So it's roughly about 16 quid if you want to buy the characters and stuff, but it is limited. They've only done this once within COD Warzone / Cold War, which was the Halloween event, which they added like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy and also Billy the Puppet, which is really cool.
Leatherface.
That's the one, yeah. Leatherface.
Yeah. That's right. What would you do without me?
I know, right? Probably be wrong and then cry when people tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Good job,
But now that I'm with you, but yeah, you've just avoided all that.
Exactly.
But this sort of like event, we'll call it, because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's cool. It's cool to see that they're actually trying to do more. And if you've played, like you said, you've played Warzone, over the past year, the thing that they've been slacking on is map changes. Like, there was almost none for the entire year. Obviously, the map's changed now, like the big map change, quote unquote. But they've added a Nakatomi Plaza in and a few others, which is really cool to see. And I hope you know what that is. And you're just gonna
No, No, I was thinking about it, and I didn't know if I should come clean and say.
Oh, you could have just said no. I don't know what it is. Nakatomi Plaza is from the movie Die Hard, but
that's cool.
Yeah, it is very cool because it's like got a vault in and it's got all of this. But I love it because I don't know if you've watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine before. Jake Peralta, played by Andy Samberg, is a big fan of Die Hard, and every time like there was like this literally proper extended running joke about like having Bruce Willis and like being in Die Hard and stuff, and then they go and visit Nakatomi Plaza. So it's really cool for me. It's gone from like being Die Hard the movie, then being obviously referenced because it's Bruce Willis and stuff like for over decades, and now you can be Bruce Willis and John Rambo in the biggest FPS shooter at this moment in time. I think that's sick.
That's pretty cool.
It is. Because I'm a big fan of movies and stuff. So, like, literally being able to, like, Ian Stallone playing zombies, how cool.
That'd be cool.
It is sick.
Oh.
Don't say that would be cool. That is
buds.
cool. Because that is a thing you can now do for a small price of £16. But even
you can play them as zombies.
Yeah, because they're just playable characters. They're in.
Oh, I thought it was only for Warzone.
No. So the characters are in Call of Duty Cold War because Cold War is now set in the 80s and the Warzone map is now in the 80s too. We won't talk about the time travel because no one explained it, but it is what it is. But yeah, they're in Cold War, so you can play them in Cold War too. I think that's sick.
That is cool. That is
really such a
cool
thing.
Imagine if you could be Rocky.
Oh,
you can't use guns. You just got to go around just KOing people.
That would be cool. That'd actually be really sick. They have I haven't played them yet, or I haven't like brought any of the bundles. I know I read an article saying that they've taken the voice lines, like they haven't recorded anything for COD. So I'm really wondering how it does work with that. It's just like the same 5 catchphrases that they have in each movie.
When do you think we can be Marty McFly?
It's funny you said that. There's already a skin like that's based off Marty McFly.
No way.
Yeah, it's been in there for a while. There's one that's but the way that they do it, so they don't like pay for like the fees, is they'll base a skin around like characters and stuff, but they'll just use it as an operator that's already in the game. There's one in Modern Warfare that's called Charlie, and she's got a skin that's based on Sigourney. Oh my god, I've messed up her name. Sigourney Weaver in Aliens.
Sigourney Weaver.
That's the one. Yeah, I needed to swallow. I've got too much.
Again, what would you do without me?
I know, man. You're here. But she's got a skin based on the Alien like outfit, which is sick because I brought it.
That's pretty cool.
I love helping out small indie companies.
That's really nice of you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it alive. But
yeah, it's good to help out local businesses. That's why I got my hamster from a local pet shop rather than Pets at Home.
How does that work? Very quickly, how does a local pet shop work? I don't get that at all.
How does any pet shop work? They just go,
surely I can just go out to Pets at Home, right, buy 10 animals and say I've got a local pet shop.
Well, I think there's a bit more to it than that. I think you sort of just, you start up a pet shop, you bulk buy things like dog toys, dog food, cat toys, cat food, things like that. And then over time, you just sort of grow your business and end up being like, you know what? I'm going to order a hamster. I'm going to order some lizards. I'm going to order some fish. And I'm going to order some budgies. I don't know. But again, and then you sell them.
But why would you open up a pet store and go, I'm only going to sell pet accessories for starters? 2,
because you've got to start somewhere.
Where do you get all of these animals from? Where does Pets at Home get their animals?
I don't know, but my hamster's from Syria.
What?
He's a Syrian hamster.
He's a Syrian hamster.
That is a breed of hamster.
Listen, we're going to have to cut all this because you're going to have certain people from the government, wondering how you got him across the borders.
It is a legit thing.
We can't be having Syrian hamsters coming over here and taking our spots for the pets. It just can't happen. Back to Warzone, yeah. I kind of finished my point on Warzone, but I can't get out the mind. I'm sorry, but how do you make your own pet store? I don't get it.
Right, we've massively digressed.
I know, but surely I'm not the only one thinking of this. Like,
You are.
Wait, okay, final question about this, and then we'll move on. How many pets does it take for me to have in my possession for it to count as a pet store?
Well, I'll say none, because if you're selling accessories for pets, then surely that's
not
good
accessories. Actual animals. If I have 5 dogs, can I sell them and that counts as a pet store?
I
would never do that because, you know. Oh, do you? Oh, see, now you know. There you go.
I mean, I thought that was a given.
You need a license for everything, though.
Well, you need a license to start a business.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, ask me a question about games.
There's probably going to be a loophole somewhere. What's your favourite game that involves an animal?
Oh, you know what? This conversation was not flawed. It involves an animal. I don't know, like, in what terms? In like, is it like an animal that's in the game, or like a playable
animal in the game?
Animal?
It's just in the game, playable or not.
In the game,
like Call of Duty Ghosts. Riley was a big part of the game.
Red Dead. There we go.
What animal though?
Wait, hang on. Am I picking a favourite animal from the game?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't think about this question at all, did you? You just gave me a willy-nilly answer.
I thought you just said favourite game that involves an animal.
But what animal though? The viewers are wondering, Frankie, what animal? You just give us a game, and that was it.
If it involves animals.
Yeah, but what animal? I want to know what animal. Red Dead has a bunch of animals.
My favourite animal from Red Dead, I don't know, the bear's pretty cool, like the big grizzly bear. You
haven't thought about this. When you say, I don't know, the grizzly bear's pretty cool. No, that's not your favourite animal. You're just giving me an answer now. You see what happens, viewers, when we don't have a host? We get lost. You know, we just jump from thing to thing. And now we're all annoyed at Frankie because he hasn't given us a proper answer about
me.
What is favourite video game answer.
You know what? Bet you didn't think I was going to go into this direction. The beached whale in Just Cause.
Why is that your favourite answer?
Because it's cool.
But it's a beached whale.
What significance is it not an animal? Just because it dies doesn't mean it's not an animal.
I'm not saying it's not an animal. It's clearly an animal. I thought there would be some emotional representation attached to said animal. Not that's a beached whale.
Because I like the sea.
But it's beached. So surely that's,
It's come out of the sea. When I go to the fish and chip shop and I have a bit of fish on my plate, I don't go, it's not fish anymore because it's on my plate.
Well, no, but you don't like the sea, do you? You like eating what's in the sea, clearly.
Well, that too, but I like the sea. The sea fascinates me. Which is why I've enjoyed Subnautica.
Below Zero, which is on our YouTube channel right now. Give it a watch. Give it a like and subscribe to Adamo Gaming.
I believe, if I'm correct, I'm in the thumbnail but not the video.
That is correct. We won't explain why.
The thumbnail.
We can leave that to the imagination of the problems behind the scenes. But yes, you are in the thumbnail. You're a pretty cool fish.
Nice. Am I? I haven't seen what fish I am. I just sort of saw my face and not the body.
I think you're a little peeper, if I'm correct. I think you're a peeper or you're a boomerang fish.
Oh, I always come back.
We always come back to the same video games on the podcast.
Oh, dear. Anthony's back next week.
He is, yes. Stay tuned for that when we don't go off topics. But I hope you've enjoyed that, I was trying to think what my favourite animal is in a game while you were ranting about your whale, which clearly isn't. I mean, you're not fooling anyone, by the way. It's not your favourite animal, but you know what? I'm going to let it slide, else we'll be here forever. And I think there is one, but I can't think of it, and it's probably it's not my favourite, but I'm pretty sure there's a game where it's like really upsetting that the animal dies and stuff.
But can I have Crash Bandicoot?
See, now you found a loophole, my friend. Now you have found a loophole. Not only do you play as the animal, it is an animal.
There we go.
That's a good one.
You also play as Crash Bandicoot for a short period of time in Uncharted 4, I believe.
You do, yeah. Yeah, which I really like that little nod.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. Yeah, I know. I like animals in games. And do you know what's best? Do you know what we're going to leave this on? Is that a lot more games now allow you to pet the animal.
Like Red Dead, you can stroke the dog, then shoot it. But I don't know why you'd do the latter. Just stroke it.
Yeah, but clearly you have because else you wouldn't know about that mechanic.
No, I've seen people do it, and I thought it was a vile thing to do.
backtracking now, Frankie. You are. But no, like there's a Twitter account dedicated to saying, can you pet? I think it's the dog. I think they do dogs because cats suck. Come at me. They do. Can you pet the dog in said game? And it's a great account. You should check it out. But
can you pet the hamster? Yes, you can at Frankie's house, 5 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, let's everyone turn up at Frankie's address. His address is.
Absolutely not.
Did that work? I hope that worked. I don't know if that's going to show up on the thing, but if it does, I sent to Frankie's address. Supposedly.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I think this has been a pretty good podcast. No offense, Ant. If you're listening, I'm not, you're a great host. You're on the ball. There, we're like the wacky cousins that you invite, and then everything goes to hell.
Yeah. We're more Ant and Deck. You're more Dermot O'Leary.
Wait, which one of us is Ant and which one of us is Deck?
I'm Deck. I'm shorter than you.
Okay, I always confuse the two. But I think we've gotten off quite a few topics, but we've delved into a few. I'm happy about that. I hope we haven't. Well, I hope I haven't personally annoyed the internet about my particular views on PC and dogs. But it is what it is. If you disagree, let us know on our social and in the comments below.
Open up a debate.
Yeah, let's get to know each other. Let's have a nice discussion. That's what we need. You think that's a good time? I think that's great.
I think that's brilliant.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of the AGT Podcast. I don't know what number we're on. It is a number. Are we in the double digits yet? Should we find out real quick?
I would imagine so.
This is episode 9, which next week.
Oh.
You know what?
We're in the double digits.
I'm sorry, but next week is going to be a very special podcast because we're in the double digits. Okay, look forward to whatever Ant has planned. Who knows? But we didn't know we'd make it this far, but here we are. We're still going.
If he doesn't listen to this and it gets to week 10 and nothing special's planned, people are going to be fuming.
They are, but that's not going to be my problem because I'm just a temporary host, But ladies and gentlemen, people of the internet, thank you so much for listening to us ramble about video games and dogs and all other sorts. Do you have anything to say, Frank, before we wrap up this?
Nothing other than thank you.
So something then.
Well, yeah, thank you for listening, but I don't have anything.
No, I don't, but yes. Stay tuned for next week with Ant's you don't want to miss it special podcast. And no, I'm very excited about it.
I'm very excited. There's going to be confetti and everything.
Oh my God, yes, there's going to be cake and candles and all sorts, but we really can't end stuff, can we? We do this every time.
No, we do.
But take care. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, goodbye.
Goodbye.